2 months ago we got a Nissan LEAF in auction. Check out the video if you haven't seen it already. And we've done about 1,000 miles in it. So I just thought I would go through and tell you what we've done to it, whether we still like it, and all that sort of stuff. So firstly, if you haven't subscribed already, please press the subscribe button and the bell icon. It helps out an enormous amount. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic. If you like the video. If you don't like, then please unsubscribe and tell me. Okay, so the LEAF. We still love the car. It's a fantastic car. And in fact, we drive it more than we do the Fiat 500, the Fiat 500e. We drive it more. It's kind of the first one that we tend to get into. The big reason for that, I would say, is because it is cheap, relatively cheap, second-hand, covered in scratches. So we kind of feel less precious about it. And that's one of the problems, I suppose, about getting a new car like the Fiat 500e or like the new one that we'll get, the Hyundai Ioniq 5. You know, it's all very well having these lovely cars, isn't it? But I'm like terrified all the time of scratches and things like that. So the LEAF, I don't care too much, you know. Go to a car park, if it did have a small dent, I wouldn't actually care too much because it would just add to the collection of dents and it would make it look loved. So that's firstly, yeah, we've used it quite a lot. 1,000 miles over 2 months, though, you can tell that that's not like, we don't do big miles or anything. That tends to be to and fro from the school. So we obviously have to do that 4 times a day. And what else do we do? And just going into town, things like that. But we haven't rapid charged at all. We haven't gone anywhere on long distances in this car because if we need to do that, then we would take the car with a bigger battery. So we love the car and we're so happy we've got it. I mean, really, it's a wonderful thing. We love this car. So that gets that out of the way. Oh, and also I should say that we all love it equally, you know. So I love it, Flaviana loves it, and Aurelia, our daughter, she loves it as well. As you could probably tell, I don't know if I should show you, but the car is an absolute mess, and that's another thing. I'm not too precious about that either. I mean, there are crisps and everything in the back here, and it's a state. So the car is great. It has had some things that needed sorting, so I'm just going to tell you about those now. I knew it would have. It's an auction car. It's bound to have a few issues, wasn't it? The first thing actually was quite simple, really. It's the key fob battery. And just this thing here. So in one of them it worked, in the other one it didn't. So I just had to replace that. That is really, really simple, and it just involves clicking it open and putting in a new coin battery, and that's it, really. That was all there was to it. Even I could do that. So that was absolutely fine. The rear view mirror was a bit loose. And I was kind of panicking about that, I suppose, because I was thinking, oh God, what's it going to be to fix that? And as it was, I just needed to put it back on properly, you know. It just needed kind of, you know, fitting on. So sometimes I panic about things, especially with cars, because I'm useless. And I'm quite practical, actually, when it comes to computers and things. One I used to have, not my Mac, because you can't do anything with that, but I used to be quite practical. With the cars, I'm not. I would love to be, though. So that was sorted. The radio panel wouldn't close. Again, this is one of those stupid things where I was panicking about it a bit, thinking, oh God, we've got a lemon, haven't we? This car is a lemon, but all it was a little cover on the SD card bit had fallen off, and that was just jamming it. And Jonathan Porterfield from Eco Cars, he told me what that was. In fact, he must have seen all these issues so many times before, thinking about it, that he's there and ready to solve it if anything happens. Another thing was that the bonnet seized, so I lifted up the bonnet because I wanted to put my 12-volt sensor thing. If you've seen my previous videos about the e-Niro, you know I've got this little 12-volt battery monitor thing. And so I wanted to put that on there. And I lifted up the bonnet, and first of all the bolts had seized on the battery itself, so I couldn't get the 12-volt thing on there. And then I couldn't get the bonnet back down. I took it to the mechanic. We used to live near a mechanic. I took it there, and they were able to just spray some WD-40. I did try that first. I'm a bit practical, okay? So I did spray some WD-40 all over the place, but that didn't help. What it was the actual cable. So the cable had to be taken apart and then sprayed some WD-40 in that, and then he did that a few times, and that solved it. It is useful knowing a mechanic, I've got to say, because I wanted to give him some money, and he just wanted, well, in fact, he didn't want anything at all, so I just gave him some beers. So that was quite a good fix. And to get it, in fact, to fix that, it did involve removing the charging cover and things like that. So it wasn't that easy. But now I know what to do, actually. I would be able to do it myself. So that's good. There was a noise while braking, and it was quite a screechy noise. And this developed, when we first had it, it wasn't too bad. And then it got worse and worse and worse. And looking at the brake discs, and I don't know much about cars, as you've established. I don't know much about cars, but they looked pretty awful. I mean, they looked so rusted. And sure enough, we got those sorted, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We got those replaced, and now we don't have that squeak anymore, so that's great. The tyre tread was pretty bad on a couple of tyres. So that's something else that we've had sorted, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And we had a clunky door. This door here would clunk like that. And again, Jonathan told me what to do, but it involved a little bit of strength, which frankly I don't have. In fact, Flaviana probably could have done it, because she's much stronger than I am. I've got a bad back, you see. So if I try and do anything, then that would probably, I'd be in pain. So yeah, so that was easily fixed, actually. And it's a common leaf problem. And again, I'll tell you about that in a minute. So those are all the bits that needed sorting. This car is due an MOT. If you're not from the UK, you might not know about MOTs. You probably have something similar, but a car does need to be checked every year just to make sure it's all running perfectly. If it fails the MOT, then actually you can't drive the car anymore. So the MOT for this will be ready in August. We've got to do that. And normally you get an MOT and a service at the same time. But I really wanted to get a service with Cleevely Mobile. Cleevely EV Mobile, I should say. If you don't know who they are, Matt Cleevely, he's a very old friend of mine from school. And we hadn't spoken for years and years and years. And then it was just kind of weird seeing him at like a Fully Charged show, for instance, and on Twitter even before that he's a very prominent EV mechanic. And he's been on Fully Charged and things. Check that out. Lovely guy anyway, and he is now working with James of James and Kate, that's a YouTube channel which is absolutely brilliant. You should subscribe to them because they're fantastic. He really knows his stuff. James used to work at Jaguar, or JLR, I think they're called, and now I don't remember what he actually did there, but I think it was in powertrains and things like that. So I think he really knows his stuff anyway, and he is an exceptional mechanic. Nicest guy on earth as well, and they do a mobile servicing thing, which is that's a game changer, I think. Okay, so I didn't have to move from the house. He came with his van, he did a full service, and he replaced the brake discs, and did loads of other things as well, which I'll tell you about. And I didn't have to move. I didn't have to go to the Nissan garage and get ripped off, and it was brilliant. So I cannot recommend them enough. So he is brilliant. As part of the service, he fixed the clunky door, changed the pollen filter. He tried to clean the brakes because he didn't really want to replace the brakes unless it was completely necessary. But they were too far gone, so he did replace them in the end. He put on Leaf Spy, because I don't have Leaf Spy yet. Leaf Spy is a fantastic little app that you use with a Bluetooth OBD device, similar to OVMS, which I have, and I haven't fitted it in here yet. And Leaf Spy tells you loads of details about the Leaf, including your health, the battery health. And in my video, when I was talking about getting the Leaf, I was like, oh, fantastic, we've got 12 bars, so there's no degradation. But of course, I knew there was degradation, but of course I said there's no degradation. Degradation of the battery does happen over time, and you can't avoid it. Even new cars the battery will get worse and worse over time. Very, very, very slowly though. Now this car is about 6 years old, and according to Leaf Spy, it's now at 85.18%. So that's the health of the battery. Obviously, it started at 100%. It's now down to just over 85. Once it goes below 85%, we'll lose a bar. So it's so close. As it is, we just charge at home, and generally we're trickle charging most of the time because we plug it in, and when we have the solar panels, as you know, and we just charge that way generally. So it's getting a tiny, tiny amount all the time, and it's only got the onboard charge of this car is only 3.3 kilowatts, which means it doesn't charge very fast. And I think the slower the charge, probably the more it preserves the battery. I'm pretty sure that's the case anyway. So other information, it's had 142 rapid charges in its life, 2,364 slow ones. So that's a really interesting thing about Leaf Spy, and I should get that as well, because it's just it's fascinating to have all these stats. I love stats, even though I don't understand a lot of them. So if I went to Nissan and I got a service, it'd be £209. It was £180 for James to come and do it on my drive. So I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to bother with a hire car, or not a hire car. I didn't have to bother with a courtesy car, sorry. Easy. It couldn't be easier, could it? I didn't have to do anything. I could have been wearing my pyjamas if I wanted. Thankfully for James, I wasn't. But so 150 plus VAT. So yeah, 180 for the service. New wiper blades because they were gone as well, actually. So about £32 for that. Front brake discs, £80. Brake pads, £30. And then the labour was 75. So that's £440.39 for a service and fixing all those bits. The tyres, they weren't all worn down, actually. On all four tyres weren't all as bad as each other, but I did replace all four. I probably shouldn't have, because it's just throwing money away, isn't it? But I like the idea of just having a completely fresh set, instead of having to go back and do them again and all that, and do tyre alignment and all the rest of it. I just wanted to get it all done. So even though I probably didn't need to, I think it's just nicer. Also, it's just nicer to make the car as fresh as possible, I think. So I went to Pro Tyre, and they were pretty good, friendly bunch there, and so I got those changed. That was £258.66, and I went for, can't remember the name of the tyres now, I'll flash it up on screen. They were ones that were fairly good with efficiency and fairly good for the weather and road noise, things like that. Now, I was also hoping that the brake discs and the tyres would improve the efficiency a little bit. I kind of just thought that because of the brake discs, it felt like it was rubbing, and I thought maybe that's just making the efficiency bad. But it hasn't, actually. It's still, we get 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour on the school run. It's quite a fast, very hilly road. I can't remember what the Fiat 500e does, but far better than that. I wouldn't say this is a very efficient car, particularly, but it is quite old. An interesting thing is that we have a solar panel on the back of the car, and I kind of thought, well, that's just going to be a ridiculous gimmick. I mean, what the hell is that going to do? Nothing. But since having the 12-volt battery monitor installed, it looks like it actually does, because the battery health, the 12-volt battery health, is not brilliant. Certainly, I mean, it's nowhere near as bad as my old E-Nero one, but that would just stop the car. I mean, we haven't had any issues yet with the 12-volt battery and the car not starting. But with the 12-volt battery, I can see that that it's not brilliant. But that solar panel definitely helps a little bit, and I was quite surprised. So I'll show that on screen now. It was a very sunny day, and the battery had kind of dipped down a bit, and you can see that steadily goes up. It's good to know that works even just a little bit. Something else I still need to do is get Nissan CarWings sorted out. That's their app. That's their app, and you have to get it linked in with the car and all of that. And I've tried it on 2 or 3 occasions now, and I keep having to go back to Nissan and say, no, that's not working. And it's a bit of a nightmare, really. But it's something I want to get sorted more when we get closer to winter, I suppose, because then you can do the preconditioning of the car. So just with the app, you can turn on the heating. But really, we have it on the heating timer anyway when it's plugged in, and it's plugged in quite a lot. So it's not a massive issue, really. I'm not too bothered about the app, and it's very slow and rubbish anyway. So it's one of those things to do when I find time. But for the moment, I just probably have to go back to Nissan and say, no, it's still not working, whatever. So, as I said, we still love the car. Things that kind of annoy us a little bit, I suppose, well, certainly annoy me, not Flaviana so much. I really miss CarPlay. That's the big thing, I suppose. This doesn't have it. Had we gone for a second-hand Kia Soul, then I think that would have had CarPlay. That would have been nice. Generally, I just plug it in with USB and play, use it that way. It's okay, but it would have been a bit nicer to have CarPlay. But it's fine. It's not too bad. It doesn't have any parking sensors, and I think that's just one. And it doesn't have a heated steering wheel either on this trim, because this is the Ascenta trim. The Tecna trim, I think, has parking sensors and a heated steering wheel. Certainly a heated steering wheel. Another an irritating Leaf thing is that it beeps like crazy when the doors open. Why? So that's it, really. That's all there is to it. So I've spent £699 and 5p on the service and the tyres. We paid £5,266.40 for the car, so that's £5,965.45 altogether. So less than £6,000 for this car, and we've replaced all the tyres and the brakes and everything just because we are going to keep this car indefinitely. We're not planning to get rid of it. It's such a good car. It's, as I say, it's just so nice. It's just really great. It's a really great size, and as I say, it being second-hand and covered in scratches and dents, not too precious about it. So it's just a great car to have, and whatever other car we have, this complements it really well. It's a perfect little runabout car. We just love it. So I still consider that £6,000. I still consider that good value. I still think it's brilliant getting it from auction, and we'll see how it goes over the next few years. But so far, so good. So that's it, I think. If there's anything you want me to test with this, not rapid charging, because I want to keep those 12 I want to keep those 12 bars for as long as possible. But if there's anything in particular you want me to test, then I will. But bear in mind, there are so many videos about the Leaf on YouTube that I don't want to spend too much time if someone else has already covered it, probably in a more detailed, kind of better way. So follow EcoCars, because he's done a few good videos about the Leaf. But if there's anything else you want me to look at, then I will. So I think that's probably it. Thank you very much for watching. Please press subscribe and press the bell icon to be notified of other videos. And I'll talk to you again very soon. Bye for now.